my family is eating cereal for dinner. I'm making food and recipes for a living for people, and I can't even eat and afford that food. People don't see you. They only see the success.
One person said, I know her from Aish. One said, oh, the cookbook.
Well, I lived a whole professional lifetime before that. I interviewed every single celebrity known to man. I ended up at the Oscars, music awards, fashion awards.
So you walked away from show business altogether?
I decided I wanted to start keeping the Sabbath. My boss says to me, good luck, Jamie, ever finding a job in the TV industry with this new Shomer Sabbath thing of yours.
And then what? Then what happened?
It felt like a blip, like a glitch in the Matrix. It was the Jamie Geller brand. I felt like I was doing something and that felt so in line with my new lifestyle. But this felt like it failed because it was me. People don't like me enough. It's almost hard to even enjoy the fruits of the labor and the success because of the failures that you had and the ones you know will be coming. I've always had a dream, you know, like NBC Studios at Rockefeller Plaza.
Yeah.
And what about Aish Studios at Western Wall Plaza?
If you've been loving our Inspired to Lead conversation, get ready. We're taking it beyond the podcast studio. On April 27th, join us in Newark, New Jersey for the annual JWE conference, where connection, inspiration, and leadership come together in one powerful day. Mark your calendar and follow us on social media to be the first to know when updates go live. More details are coming, and this is one you won't want to miss. Welcome to Inspired to Lead. We'd like to thank our friends at Roth & Co., innovators in accounting and business advisory, for making this conversation possible. We're coming to you from Jerusalem. I'm your host, Talia Mashiach. Today, I'm joined by Jamie Geller, Chief Communications Officer and Global Spokesperson at Aish. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Talia, so much. I'm really excited to
I
be
am
here.
too. I'm so happy. You know what? It's often when I have different guests, my kids, my friends, oh, who are you interviewing? And of course, I came all the way from Chicago, and I'm in Israel. There,
So
like I'm recording a podcast.
This, right?
Yes, and I'm recording a podcast. Like, who are you recording with? I said, Jamie Geller. Every single one of them knew who you were.
Really?
From different things. One person said, I know her from Aish. One said, oh, the cookbook.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm really excited for you to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. It makes me feel so special also, by the way, that you said that.
I would love to just start. Tell us a little bit about you, what you're doing right now, a little bit about your family, and clearly you're living here in Israel, which is amazing.
I feel like living in Israel is the greatest dream. We're here 13 years. We came with 5 children, thank God, and we had our 6th here.
Wow.
And I just don't take it for granted. Every single day is a blessing, and it doesn't get old. It is so special. And to be able to be here in Yerushalayim, like doing my work, the things that I love to do, I never imagined in a million years that I could parlay my career, my skill set, my professional experience, and be thriving here, not just surviving, you know, in Israel.
Yeah,
and it's
it's
just
amazing.
been an absolute dream. And about 5 years ago, 5.5 years probably now, I joined Aish, as you said, as the Chief Communications Officer and Global Spokesperson. I actually had many different titles. I first started as the Chief Media Marketing Officer, and now I moved into this role this last year. And it has been, I just say, each part is a dream. Like where we live, as I mentioned, is a dream. Professionally, what I get to do every single day is a dream. And none of it was in my plan.
Wow. Okay. Well, that is something we're definitely going to talk about, because I think a lot of times, especially certain personalities,
Yes.
myself being one of them,
Yes.
we're such planners and things I'm really learning really recently. I'm working on this really hard to like let go a little bit. Like I like to be proactive. I'm definitely very intentional, but I am trying to let go a little bit to be like, I don't know what will be next year. I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to be proactive, but who knows what will be, because sometimes you never know where you're going to wind up.
Fun also, by the way.
Yeah, because that's true. Because it gives a little bit of like, say, like,
mystery.
what's going to be?
Yes.
I don't know. We're working on this, working on that, but we'll see what happens.
And it can be greater than you even dreamed of, by the
Yes.
way. That's like the fun part
Yes.
of like letting go a little bit and letting God. But I really feel like you could call us type A personalities. You could call us like entrepreneurial in spirit. I've been called a bulldozer. You know, I've been called everything, by the way.
I've been called very forceful.
Yeah, for that. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds even nicer than what I've been called. And some nice things also along the way as well. I don't mean to say it's all negative, but I really feel like you would think I learned, because I'm still planning, by the way, for the next 5-10 years for retirement. But at the same time, I love that things have turned out even better than I could have hoped or dreamed for.
Well, I can't wait to get that story. But before we go there, I want to hear about your career. Like,
Like which part? I've
right.
lived 9 lives.
But, I think it's almost like people always want to know, how do you wind up where you are? And it's always such an interesting story. But I think a lot of times people know you from those starting points of like the cookbook 18 years ago that you put out and really built like a name for yourself. And then now you're, like this big position in Aish. So take us like from that point to here.
Well, I lived a whole professional lifetime before that.
Okay, so then take us back even further.
Every single thing led up to this moment, including my career pre how many people might know me as a cookbook author, which is so funny because those who knew me before, that was like a blip on the radar. But for some people, that's like how I came onto their, consciousness. Like that's how that was my mark. Like I hit the map, so to speak, with whatever I'm looking for. It's like, that was just like it was a detour, and it's such a funny detour and such an unexpected detour for those who know me. So basically, I had a dream to be rich and famous. And I can't sing and I can't act. So I'm figuring, how am I going to do this? So I decided I wanted to become a journalist. And I wanted to be in broadcast journalism. When I used to come home every single day from school, my mom would watch Oprah. And I grew up like watching my mom watching Oprah. And every year, Barbara Walters, she should rest in peace.
Yes.
Yes. So
I think The View could still use her back
honestly, she just says she was a class act. Yeah. So she would do a special at the end of the year, like, 2000, like the year 2000, the year 1999 or 2001's 20 most interesting people. And then she would save the most interesting for like her end of year on camera special. So I figured like, this is something I could learn, like singing, acting. You need to be sort of born with a bit of a skill set, like inherent. Obviously, you could take, singing classes and dancing classes and acting classes. But if you don't have that God-given talent, you're only going to get so far, So I felt like journalism, it's something I could learn. It's something I could study. And I could become famous while doing it. So I went to NYU. And not because it's the best broadcast journalism school. I looked at Emory, Syracuse, et cetera, even in UCLA. But New York City offers internships and job opportunities like no other place. And I very much knew and understood at that time that that networking is going to be what sets you apart, because everyone will come out of the best school with the best grades. When I say everyone, obviously not everyone makes it, but the bottom line is those that want to will and do. And like, how do you set yourself apart? So I got an internship after my freshman year that summer at NYU. And I hadn't even taken a broadcast journalism class yet, but I just knew that this was my foot in the door.
You went for it. You had an opportunity and you go for it.
Yeah, so the opportunity actually was 4 years in the making. 4 years prior at Rosh Hashanah services, I met Lori, who told me she works for CNN and to look her up when I get to New York. So I just filed that away. I'm saying, like, I knew. I was planning already from 9th grade. And just so you know how I know Lori, my mother's best friend growing up, Betty's ex-boyfriend, Sam, was on his second marriage to Bonnie. His daughter from the first marriage was Lori, who I met outside the bathroom at Rosh Hashanah services. She told me to look her up. We're basically twins separated at birth. And I was like, Lori, remember me. I want a job,
Oh,
and
that's great.
True to her word. She got me a job, an internship at CNN. And I thought, I'm going to CNN and I'm going to be interviewing. I know not on day one, but I wanted to work in news and be exposed to decision makers and world leaders and politicians. Well, Lori worked for a show called Showbiz Today, which was a live entertainment news show which covered entertainment news for CNN, both domestically and internationally. So I ended up at the Oscars, the MTV Music Awards, the VH1 Fashion Awards. I interviewed every single celebrity known to man.
Wow.
Not that first summer, but subsequently I worked full time in the summer and they loved me and I love them so much. I'm a very, very, very hard worker and very loyal. And they basically said, you can't leave after the summer internship. I just want to tell you, I ended up becoming in charge of all the interns for the next, 2 years.
Wow.
And no one, like we never asked anyone to stay. You get a lot of these people, they're flaky, they're figuring out their life, they're not sure what they want to do. They think it's just like, a cute job. They're not getting paid.
Right.
You're not getting, this is not a paid internship. So I stacked up all my classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I interned for CNN Monday, Wednesday, Friday during the year, and full-time again in the summer. And of course, in the evenings as well as needed. I graduated in 3 years because they couldn't wait for me to have a full-time job. And I graduated Phi Beta Kappa, magna cum laude from NYU in 3 years while working almost full-time at CNN. And like I said, working, writing, and producing before I ever had taken a class in my major, of choice, which was broadcast journalism.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just pause for a second because, oh, wow. Like, that's amazing. But I could totally appreciate all that because when you're a person and certainly a woman who has very big goals, very driven, willing to grind, willing to put in the hard work, and has a level of intelligence and confidence, I imagine, very much so, that you could do it. I could tell that you had.
Not too much confidence that I didn't understand my place and wasn't open to learning every single
But that's arrogance,
and
right?
doing
Like
all the grunt work.
I don't think that there's never like too much confidence. I think there's arrogance, which is
Thank you
completely
for
different.
that, making that
There's really different, right?
Absolutely right.
Confidence means even the more confident you are, the more humble you actually are, because
Correct.
you actually feel like you know what you can do. You don't need to prove it to anybody else, maybe to yourself over and over again, because that's what, right? Always to yourself, but not to anybody else. And arrogance is like not knowing your place, and putting and that comes from a place of insecurity. So I actually think they're opposite. So to me, everything you're sharing, I feel like is a confidence to be able to go after and do what you need to do. But what do you think?
I was going to say, I agree actually with everything you're saying. And I was going to say, being now in charge of hiring a lot of people and having had to hire and fire and remain on great relationships with the tons of people that I've had to let go, there's something also in between the arrogance and the confidence.
Yeah.
And then there's like a lack of self-awareness, no understanding of what it takes to make it and to grow, and this idea of like it's coming to me and I'm deserving of it, and
Entitlement.
It's the craziest thing to see that, and just in remembering, everything that I was willing to do and I'm still willing to do, by the way, even with this position and even with a fancy title, and it's very interesting.
I so relate, because it's that, like, a lot of my story is nothing like being able to work on CNN, but just that grind, being willing to do it. I got married really young. I had kids young, but I was absolutely determined.
That would explain why you look like you're 25. So
I'll take that compliment.
Yes, take it.
I was like going through school and I was like, absolutely, I'm going to graduate at the top of my class. I'm going to, I had those goals. And just because I had 2 babies in the middle of all of that wasn't going to stop those goals. But man, was it hard. It was so hard to hit those goals, and so hard. So I so appreciate that, but it's a mentality. And when I meet young people now who have that mindset, I am willing to put my effort into them, because I know that they're going to work so hard that they may need to learn a lot of skills, but they're going to do it. And I believe in them, and I'll put myself behind them. But
it's a work ethic.
Right. It is. It's goal oriented, intentional, and willing to do what it takes to get to where they want to go. And you see it, if you meet someone, you can tell they're like that. Yeah. And that's and then there's the other side where you were talking about, which is there's this entitlement and thinking that I'm going to get there without having to really do very much, because I deserve it because of who my parents are, or because of me, or whatever else.
And by the way, they actually think they're working really hard,
right?
Which is so funny. They think they're working hard, and they think they're going above and beyond. It's like, are you kidding me?
You're not, right?
Yeah.
And even within your own organization or within any company, the hiring process, right? And look, there are certain companies that those type of people do really well in. Mm-hmm. I know for my company at EvEd, and it sounds like for the team that you hire, right away, it's all, to me, I don't even worry as much about the skills, and I see if they fit into the culture, if they fit. And one of the biggest things is you've got to be willing to work hard and understand the results. Honestly, I don't even care how many hours you're going to work. I care about hitting the results. Completely. And most people have to work really hard to hit the results in terms of the standard, but I want them to have great time. I want them to have time with their family. I want them to live a life. So it's going to take a certain person who's so result oriented that they put it on themselves, that if they're not doing it because they're worried about getting fired, they're not doing it to try and impress me. They're doing it because when there's someone set, this is the expectation, they are going to meet it no matter what. That's the type of person.
Can I say also, though, you mentioned less about skills and more about
culture
right. Culture.
And
so it depends though on the job, because some people can be trained up, some jobs can be trained up, and certain level higher, more executive level positions and or managerial positions, they do have to have a certain skill set also.
For sure.
So I think you need the chops also sometimes, but I would never ever hire at the expense of not fitting into the culture. Right. For sure.
And I made that mistake when I'm building also 30 years. I'm married 30 years. I've been running companies, but I've done 5 companies and I've hired all different types of people. And those were the mistakes that I made early. Is I very much focused only on the skills and didn't focus enough on I say culture fit. And when I say culture fit is what we actually did as a team when we really turned this around, is we listed, okay, who are all the people that did really well in our company, and what were the things they had in common, and who are the people that didn't do well, and
That's
what were the things that they had in common.
Determine your core values.
And then we figured out, we looked at it and we realized,
you almost like reverse engineer it based on your success.
Exactly. And we said, okay, they have to have passion, they have to be, you know, intentional, they have to have a lot of integrity, whatever. We listed it. And now whenever we do hiring, if they don't have that list, then we go to the skills after it.
And
we go to that
we
first.
added an acronym to our core values at Aish so that we could easily remember them. So I grow. So I is for innovation, G is for growth oriented, R is for taking responsibility. The O is working well with others, always looking for the win-win, and the W is the wow factor.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. That's amazing.
No one could remember them. Like you were just saying, this and that. And every time we go around in our weekly meeting and someone calls somebody else out for embodying the core values and has to say which one, then whoever wins does that same call out the next week. They're responsible for calling out a team member. And no one could remember what they were. So we did I grow.
I love that. That's such, and I'll tell you, I really do think that this is great advice for anyone who's like, whether you're just starting to build a team or you've been, you know, working with teams for a really long time. It's like, I say this to them and they're like, oh yeah. Like, it's like clicks that, wait, I'm so focused on, but they've done this and they've done this and they've done that. But if they're not going to show up, if they're not going to align with the way that you like to work, it's never going to work. They could be amazing and fire fast. So if you thought that they had this, not just the skills, but the culture fit, and it winds up that they don't, it's never going to change. Correct. Skills, maybe. If they're not as good, you could teach them, you could see, right? But hire slow, hire fast. Exactly. Yes. And I think that's really the biggest mistake people make is they let people stay around for, they don't hire right, and they let people stay along too long because they're afraid. Why? Because you usually don't have enough people, you're like understaffed, and you worry if I let them go, there'll be so much to do. I'll never.
But you don't realize how much you're cleaning up after that person and how much double work is happening and how your both you and the rest of your team, your resources are being taxed by, you know, trying to cover for something else. And no one's working to their optimum level. Exactly. Yeah.
And so everyone's like, oh, I can't imagine. And then I have to take it all on myself and I'm so overwhelmed or the team's so overwhelmed. I always tell them, trust me, you'll get rid of them. And it'll be so much better for you, even with that extra work, and you'll get a better person.
And sometimes in an intermediate step, you may have to scale back on something that is not of major consequence, and you have to live with that.
Yes, exactly. So, all right. Well, this is great. Yes, this is great business advice, which is great. We're going to continue to bring that in, but I want to go back to your story, and so we can learn a little bit more about you.
I say it's just so much fun because I don't really ever get a chance to speak to other women in this position. And you mentioned like the JWE and everything that you're doing, and you mentioned this conference that happens with 500 to 700 women. And I said to you, like, I feel so lonely most of the time. My friends, my family, the ladies in the park, or whatever's driving carpool, like they don't know what I do. They don't understand what I do. We're not even speaking the same language. So it was just fun for that moment to like have that conversation. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I love that you're sharing that because that is really the passion I have for the JWE and why, as I was sharing with you, Chaya Pal Fishman, who started the organization. Yes, you definitely need to meet her. Started a long time ago. And I was like, this has to exist. We have to promote, we have to support this organization because women really need it. And I also, I felt that loneliness. There's so few people that I knew even about that had built big careers or were like really had like learning leadership or in leadership roles, and then also have their families and their life and everything else. And I also, that sense of loneliness, and I feel so lucky that over the last number of years, but certainly I would say in the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to meet incredible women. And this is part of my fun of doing the podcast because I've met some amazing people and connect and so much fun. Totally. Yes, it's so much fun. Okay, so back to CNN. You were there, you were running the interns.
Yes, so I was running the interns. That was just but one job made like each semester a half a credit. So that I could keep continuing because otherwise, like I would have been done with my internship credits after the first time. So I was able to do that and stay on until they were like, "When are you graduating?" Every day they would say to me, "When are you graduating already?" So I was like,
"Well, you also probably wanted to get paid for all the work that you were doing at a certain point."
You know, it's so funny. That wasn't my motivation then. Obviously, now completely different. But at that point, I was in college. I was in the dorm. Thank you, God, for my parents. My parents. I didn't have to take any loans.
That's amazing.
I went to NYU. So I'm saying I was really from a place of luxury.
Yes.
That I knew I was building my career and investing in my career. I wasn't waiting for the payment yet because I was in the dorm and in college and I didn't have a loan to think about paying off.
That's amazing.
And I want to say that my mother graduated high school but never went to college, and my father never graduated high school. They were immigrants from Transylvania to Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And the most important thing, completely self-made. My father won't get mad when I say this. I feel like they invented emojis for him because he can't even really spell English very well.
Yeah.
So he uses them to express himself. And he ever writes too much, it's like, oh my God. You know? He speaks fine with a heavy accent, but like super cute to see his writing. Completely self-made. And the most important thing for him was that his daughters, his American daughters, should have the opportunity to education that he and his family had never had. So it was a gift. And I really felt like my life was perfect. I was traveling all over the world for them. And my mother, who again was so proud, and my father that I had this fabulous career, and really was like embodying the dream of what women could do and become in America. Because remember, my parents were immigrants too, not just my grandparents. And my mother had never had the chance to go to college, and she felt like she was smart and could have done so much in the world. She spoke 5 languages, fluently, as most non-Americans do, by the way.
Well, now you gave me an answer as to part of what influenced like that mentality within you, like when immigrants who come over, who have to work so hard, who start their lives all over again, which you could talk about coming to Israel as well. Like there is such a grind in that, and that personality to be able to do it. And I think we learn the most from our parents.
Correct. I'm going to even say it's generational. My parents, all 4 Holocaust survivors.
Oh, wow.
And came over with nothing but the clothing on their back. No language, no culture, no understanding, no careers, no experience, having had their entire families wiped out. They married each other. They had kids. My parents were born there after the war and then came over here. And again, without speaking the language, without understanding the culture, it was so foreign. So he says to me, well, how about you go to a weekend Shabbaton, which is like a weekend retreat. Aish was hosting, and it was their discovery seminar. So the discovery seminar has been around for about 20 to 25 years. Over 250,000 people have been through it. It's absolutely transformative and life-changing. And it's basically a rational case for the Torah. And that the Torah was, in fact, divinely written, could not have been written by a man. And therefore, then it was given to the Jewish people as their guidebook for life. But a really rational case for really smart people. It's really science-based, mathematical-based, and it's unbelievable. So I went to this Shabbaton, this weekend retreat, and that's when my whole life changed. Till then, going to the weekly classes was like, great, this is great. I can incorporate them into my life. And you see a lot of the young married rabbis and their spouses who are like in Manhattan working and teaching and like look just like me and I would want my future husband to look. So it was like, I never thought I would have to make a decision. But after I had this experience at the Discovery Weekend Retreat and seminar, so I decided I wanted to start keeping the Sabbath and be Shomer Shabbos. So I decided to do this in December when Shabbos starts at sundown at like 4.
Yeah.
And the show that I work for that's live every single day is live at 4:30. So I couldn't keep my job.
Wow. So you walked away did you walk away from like the journalism and show business altogether, or you found something that could still in the same?
After trying to figure out how are all the ways that I could maybe keep my job while not, while still observing the Sabbath, while not transgressing on different things. And we worked on the 24th floor, and there's an elevator. There was just no way, no way. So I walked into my boss, Scott's office, who was a really nice Jewish man who was on his second marriage to a Buddhist convert. And he basically says to me, like, good luck, Jamie, ever finding a job in the TV industry with this new Shomer Sabbath thing of yours. Like, nobody walks away. People are breaking down the door, dying to get in. I don't know if you ever read The Firm or saw the. It's like once you get in, you can't get out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like no one was walking out willingly from here.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't believe it. And he was basically like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Because like, who walks away from this?
How was that for you though, making that decision? Like what, a lot of people wouldn't have the courage to do that.
Well, I think it was probably like a year or two in the making. And so like that weekend discovery seminar was the icing on top of the cherry on top of the cake. It wasn't like one day before I was X and the other day I flipped to Y. Like I had been going to these weekly Parsha classes. So at that point, I just was so in love with Judaism and felt like it's like you discovered a treasure. So it's not hard to walk away from what you believe to be like your inheritance. Like someone just gave you an inheritance. You're going to say, oh, no, thanks. Keep the $5 million. You know, like I don't need that. I'm fine here. This was like, I was like winning, like what is the lotteries right now up to 1.7 billion. I felt like I won the lottery. And there was just
Well, it
Nothing
sounds
could
like
hold me
it
back.
almost says that before that moment, your career was your first priority, and
Yes.
potentially, keeping Judaism and connecting
Yes.
was your second.
Yeah.
And that moment in your life is when it switched.
Correct.
And Judaism became first and career became second.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I think that people who are really successful have a very clear understanding all the time of their priorities. And so when we all have multiple decisions that we have to make all the time. And it's very difficult to make decisions if you don't understand what your priorities are. And that's also like a really important piece of advice that I always tell people is, what is most important to you? And when you have big decisions, like this was a fork in the road for you.
Yes.
And it's like, to me, like I'm listening to you and I'm like saying like it was here and now it went like that. And so that was like the choice, which was a huge sacrifice that you had to make. But imagine if you didn't understand that those were what your priorities were. It'd be very hard to make a decision like that.
Well, it's so interesting. You said people that are successful know what their priorities are. It depends. People that are successful in life know what their priorities are. There are plenty of people that are super successful in business and have prioritized that and would be deemed by society as super successful with the bank account to prove it and all the philanthropy to prove it. But their personal life took a back seat to that.
But because they didn't prioritize it.
Right, but I'm saying you could still qualify them as successful.
Right.
people.
So I think success is
that we have to define
Right. So
success.
I define. Everyone says, "What is success?" I say success is it's personal success. It's what you define as success, and I define as success
Well,
is different.
we're for sure speaking the same
Right.
language, though, in terms of I'm saying fulfillment that goes beyond
Right,
the
because
dollars and
that's
cents.
because that's what you define as success. Those people who are out there creating their careers and don't have a family, they've defined success in their life as chasing that career and the money.
Yes.
And I think there's incredible, like Rabbanim who are learning, and their success was how much Torah can I bring into my home. So I really feel that that's the first thing you have to do is define for your own personal life, what does success look like?
Correct.
Once you understand what success looks like for yourself, then you could look at the priorities that you need to have in your life that in order to be successful. And once you've done that, now when decisions come your way, you can actually make those decisions and live with intention.
Completely. It's such an important life lesson and also business lesson as well. Every time I'm part of a team, I need to go into a meeting or start a campaign or I'm being utilized as a certain role within a larger picture. I always ask whoever might be the team leader or project manager or campaign manager or whatever on this, what does success look like? Because you can't even understand the role you need to play professionally until you understand what success looks like. And then, of course, personally, then we get the chance to define that for ourselves.
Right.
And as women, and as Jewish women, and as religious women. So that's going to look a very specific kind of way.
But what I find interesting is it's in essence, you're obviously clearly when you were young, you were very goal oriented and very focused. And that moment you changed because your priorities changed because you changed what success looked like. You went from what we were just talking about is a lot of people in America, which are, want to be rich and famous and whatever my career takes me. And, that's the most important, to redefining success for yourself after being exposed to your weekly Torah portion to a certain life. And it's interesting. People ask me from my own perspective and thinking about it for women is, even people who have no religious affiliation, I always say, that you should build your career around the life that you want to have.
Yes.
Think about the life you want and build your career. And I think women do that naturally. And I think men naturally build their life around the career. They pick the career that they want and then they build their life, and women figure out their life and build their career. And I think that's part of why even generally there are not that many women in the C-suite and in these companies that you're chasing, those careers, and that's your whole focus. Because there are some women that choose that, but I think naturally the way we're built is that we definitely choose a life, and then we'll build our career.
It's so beautiful. You said it. I love that.
Okay, let's go back. We're getting. This is great. We're finding all these really fun things to talk about as we get through your story. So
we didn't get to the food yet.
we didn't get to the food.
Start from there. I'm like, really?
This is great. This is great because I love this. Says so much about you, and it also obviously this is all about leadership, and every single thing you're telling me is also clicking like leadership quality.
Can I tell you? I mean, we speak about imposter syndrome and we throw that around. I'll jump ahead and then jump back for a second. I didn't know how to cook. The first book is called Quick and Kosher Recipes from the Bride Who Knew Nothing, because I use my oven for storage and for sweaters, not to ever turn the thing on. So I feel so funny that people know me like as that, because again, it felt like a blip, like in the radar, like a glitch in the matrix, like this weird moment that again has led to everything, but is so not indicative of like who I am, the career that I tried to build, and what I wanted to become known for, and the legacy I wanted to leave on this earth. So it's just funny, but yeah.
But it was a piece that allowed you to bring all this whole part into your life and to share, right? And to have the impact that you want to have, which is like amazing. It's I never thought I'd be a host of a podcast. Like never, ever. Like it was not
so good at it.
Well, I appreciate that. It's actually not my comfort zone, believe it or not. I say that to people I can tell you're like,
I'm just like,
yeah, my husband's like that. My husband's like, he's like, I should be the podcast. And I'm like the one who likes to be in the background. And I'm also a CEO and I talk at conferences and I speak all the time, but like my nature, when you talk about comfort zone, like this is tiring for me. Like, but so right. And people don't realize that because I've learned the skill and I've gotten good at it, but it's not like I'm doing this purely because I push myself outside of my comfort zone because I really feel so strongly about the importance of being able to tell these stories and showcase. But it's funny because people, what appears isn't always what it is, right?
Always. It's almost always.
Yeah. Okay. So we're back at your story. Your prayer, the definition of success has changed for you. And now did you go to Israel at that point?
So I went to seminary every day back and forth from the hotel. And I'm there for about 3 weeks, and I get a call. I'm walking up. Jerusalem is very hilly. I remember walking up a hill and listening to my messages. I'd gotten a call where a producer that I had known, that I had met on the red carpet, had said, Jamie, could you be on the set of Sopranos on Monday? Sopranos at the time was a very popular show for HBO. And I was like, you know what? I can be on the set of Sopranos on Monday, because I didn't want to give up my career. I'm very much a girl who wants to have her cake and eat it too. People always present you with these questions, this or that. I'm like both. I'm never a this or that girl. So, and I was like, I had sort of a 3-week foundational change that I went through in education. I started dressing modestly. I started keeping Shabbat. I started keeping kosher. I understood the type of home I wanted to build and the guy I wanted to marry. Again, I never thought I'm going to live in Israel. I came here to just sort of learn about what it means to be an observant Jewish woman. Again, and because I had a tremendous background, you have to remember, read Hebrew fluently, speak pretty okay, knew how to pray all the prayers by heart already. And it's not like I had to learn the alphabet, which is the equivalent of the ABCs, and learn how to pray. I had this foundation. So everything kind of clicked really quickly. I'm not saying I recommend it to anyone just when you're, going on your personal journey of self-discovery, hang out for 3 weeks, but it was an opportunity I could not refuse. And I knew I was going back to New York City, not like the Midwest where is there a Jewish community? Is there the infrastructure that I need to help support me on my new journey? Are there class? This was the hub of Jewish life. Now I guess it's South Florida, outside of Israel, of course. But it was the hub of Jewish life. And I'm like, I'm going back, and I'm going into HBO as a religious observant woman, which means they know I have to leave early on Friday. I'm not working in live television anymore. Kosher food is being ordered for me on set wherever I am. I dress modestly. I took on not to have physical interaction with the opposite sex. So everyone there knew, you can't shake her hand, she's religious, she's this, she's that. I came in as this person already, where being somewhere and changing, going one day, I'm wearing, a lace see-through top to work, and the next day I'm you can't shake my hand. So this is very different. I came in,
gave you a restart,
a reset, a restart. And I got to sort of present the Jamie that I wanted to be and grow into, and how I wanted to live my life. And I had the professional chops and resume and portfolio to show for it. So they hired me knowing all of these things. You can't also pull the wool, you can't change course on your employer. They hired you thinking you're going to work 7 days a week. Oh, now suddenly I don't work this and that. I came in to this particular job with that stipulated in my contract. So it was.
I have a question. I'm curious and again, I'm getting a really great feel for your personality and just your drive, which is amazing and so inspiring. What was the draw for you? What was it about Judaism and having an observant home? Was I'm just thinking of you as this very career oriented, you're very goal oriented, you're very there had I'm wondering if there was something there that was like this draw to be like, this is the life that I want to have.
So for me, it was the relationships specifically between husband and wife and parent and child, like that family unit. Growing up, my parents were married and then they got divorced. Then they married each other again. Then they had my sister and I, and now they're divorced again. So we are products of the second marriage of the same people to each other. And also growing up in between the second marriage and the second divorce, my father moved out of the house a lot. So like for significant periods of time. And what I was exposed to in the observant Jewish world was this beautiful relationship between husband and wife. There's tremendous mutual respect. And I want to say mutual. I'm not just talking about, oh, they think observant Jewish women are oppressed. And no, I really saw they were elevated and the queen of their homes. Yes, I saw that. But I also saw a woman respecting her husband in a way that both ways were not modeled to me growing up. And also growing up, the rabbi of my synagogue, there was a big scandal. He had an affair with one of the congregants. And his kids were in my class. So I saw a lot of like breakdown of marriages and relationships. And it's also going to sound so crazy. I don't ever think I ever drew the line between this also, but like Monica Lewinsky and Clinton, that was very upsetting to me. Like this sacred vow of marriage and seeing that on a religious, on a personal, on a national scale being so trampled upon, it just was very painful for me to see. And I thought, like, if you want a recipe for a successful life, and I definitely always knew that it was never for me a question that I'm going to be married, God willing, thank God, and have children, thank God. So I just felt like, where do I see that modeled? How can I understand how to have the recipe for that successful life? And I thought Shabbos, like the weekly Sabbath, was such a beautiful way to keep the family together. And I was growing up in an era where they were making a big deal of like, oh, you should have family dinner together at least once a week. And phones weren't a big thing at the time, but just like see each other, focusing on each other. This was before the distractions of technology. They were still making this like effort, society as a whole, like American society, like you need to have like dinner together and speak to each other. Like that was already breaking down. So that was really what it was. So that's why Shabbos, and then,
That's beautiful. I know we're going to go back, but I have to ask this question because I think a lot of women who are type A, very goal oriented, very intentional, and also live within the community. And I include myself in that group is the balance that we find where we can be out and be a CEO and be big in our careers, but then we come back into our homes and we want our husbands to, be like, we want to be in the more traditional roles. And when we talk about, and I talk about that to people outside of our community, it's like very interesting to them. Yeah. Like they don't like, wait, how do you go be like the CEO over here, or the lead and that strong personality and take control and run everything. Yes. And then when you come to your home, you want to be a more traditional role. Like, can you have it both ways?
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about that because I think that that's really, really fascinating. And I also do want to like call out to the guys because it isn't always so easy having a wife that so strong and so together and so can we talk about this? Like, this is a topic.
The best. And it's so funny because you said your husband wants to be the host of the podcast.
Yeah.
My husband is so happy to hang out.
Right. So the opposite personalities, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
My husband's the showman and I'm like the behind the scenes. Like,
but he's so strong and I just want to be taken care of. I'm spending all day thinking about and taking care of everyone and everything else. And with so much weight and responsibility on my shoulders, I need like a strong alpha male also. But it's funny because he's strong in a quiet way. So Obviously it always depends on the personality. But I think that that's so critical. And it's such a special partner, not a guy, it's a partner that wants to support and elevate women like us and that are absolute cheerleaders the whole way through. And then when we come home also like know how to take care of us and know how to be the alpha male. I feel like that is a negative connotation, but know how to take charge and lead when we need a break too, because we need a break. It is impossible to be on all the time. And, that's for me. I'm only speaking from personal experience and that's what I need. And so that,
But I think it's common. Like I mean, I feel that way, and I know so many women I talk to who also have very, big careers and responsibilities.
high powered, high stress.
Yes, outside, like they still want to go home and have the more traditional.
Yeah.
Like roles within their home, which we're still CEO of our home. Let's not
right.
right.
All means to say.
Yeah, we're still running our home, but there's that traditional role in which we do want to I love on Shabbos being able to prepare Shabbos. I'm very happy for my husband to sit and for me to be able to serve. And I appreciate all of that. And I know it's like so. Like not everyone gets that, right? But you can understand what I'm saying, and I think a lot of people listening could probably really appreciate that.
I feel like unless you're in this situation, it's very hard to understand. But those who get it, get it.
Yeah.
I do want to say something else. So you mentioned being the CEO of our homes and running our homes as women. I mean, again, only speaking from experience, but at least in my experience, having such a demanding, stressful job, and it's demanding physically, emotionally, intellectually, on every single level. We're partners in running the home also.
Yes.
Like I have a more traditional role than one would expect if I was like a non-Jewish, secular woman. But at the same time, like it is a partnership in every single thing that we do and there as well.
Yeah.
So while he might do the finances, because thank you, like take it all, like he also does the laundry.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that I'm doing all of the laundry. And by the way, I really don't like to do laundry. I don't mind folding it, but all the kids fold their own, and then the house laundry, like I'll fold, but like there's some things like different people pick up because it's just the way of the world. We cannot do it all. And I always want to dispel the misconception that working women are super women, and especially Jewish religious working women, because the expectation that you are the CEO of your home and you are the CEO of your company. And we have partnerships both with our kids and with our spouses in both arenas. Like if I gave you, my husband could be the #1 business consultant in the world. I almost don't make any serious move or have a serious meeting or conversation without strategizing and talking to him before. So he's behind the scenes helping me there as well as helping in the home.
I love that you're talking about it as a partnership, because I do think that that's the key that allows women in our community who have these types of jobs to be, I shouldn't even say jobs, the women who have these types of careers to be successful for sure. And there's a whole lot about the kids also, and appreciating that, and the kids understanding it. Right.
Everyone's got a role and everyone's proud of what mommy's doing out there, Ima, as they say, and they all pitch in also.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a beyond a team.
And they also share you in a certain way. Like, maybe other friends and kids, they have their moms are able to be around, at going to school for PTA, for serving hot lunch, for doing a lot of those things. And a lot of women who have very busy careers can't necessarily do that. However, that I think we always talk about the quality, over quantity.
That's what we have to tell ourselves and believe and invest in. And can I just say, because we'll go back to the food for a second.
Yeah.
So everyone thinks at the beginning of every school year, so the teacher thinks that when there's something to bake or something to cook or something, they think that they're going to give it to Jamie Geller.
Yeah.
And my daughter says, we bring paper goods or drinks. Because I don't have time to bake for the school. And like the new teacher, all the kids in class know already, because they've been with my daughter through first, second, third, whatever. But the new teacher is like blown away because like, cookbook author, like she's this, and you're going to bring paper goods or drinks, but that's what I send.
Is there ever, and just, I know we're still got to go back and get the story, but you talked about, because I think you're just touching on things that people talk a lot about, is there's sometimes women will have a certain guilt that they can't, they're bringing paper goods and they feel like a guilt. And that's like such a big part of many, many years, like, their late 20s into their 30s. I think by the time they get into their late 40s, like they realize that we're not wasting your time.
Drinks, by the way, it's my niece's shower tomorrow.
Yeah.
My family knows I'm bringing drinks. Like I'm not baking, but you're right. But there's guilt on a lot of other things. Certain things, you've said them enough times, you got used to it enough, so it's okay. But like I've told this story before. It was my daughter's bat mitzvah play. There's like, 120, 150 girls in her grade. And they put the date on the calendar like a year before. And they make sure that every mother can be there. Of course, it makes sense. And they even move things around to accommodate.
Which is nicer than a lot of schools.
Yeah, okay, so fine. So amazing. I love the school she's in. So, and then there was some big issue with the hall. I don't know if it was a construction. I don't know what happened. And they had to change the date. And they moved it around and they kept trying to accommodate everyone. And I was the last woman standing, the last mom who could not make the state. And the principal called me. And I mean, my daughter's crying. I'm crying. The principal called in tears. Her teacher's crying. Everyone knows how momentous this is. Like, and she called me and she's like, Mrs. Geller, like, you're the only one. Not enough that she was upset for me that I would miss it. She was upset for my daughter that she would be the only one without a mother in the audience. She said, can't you move this meeting? So I said, it's with the White House. And she said to me, wow, I didn't know you're so important. You know? And like, by the way, I had this conversation with a unbelievable woman who is a very super duper successful entrepreneur. I'm going to tell you her name I'll tell you after off camera. Yeah. I should have her on the show. Philanthropist extraordinaire, like brand builder, just beyond. And she says she would move the White House, but I am not a business owner anymore. Okay. I mean, I have a small business on the side, but I work for Aish. I work for the Jewish people. I'm not in a position now where I can dictate when this meeting is. And it's not something that I could move. And so I miss the bat mitzvah play. So there is tremendous guilt. And did we make up for it by getting the video, watching it with popcorn, and guess what? I didn't have to sit through the whole boring play. We just kept watching and rewatching
Which
her
maybe
solo.
It was more special for her than
her
it was.
Solo. We went to the point that I memorized it, and then we were like doing it ourselves together as a duet, and like it was unbelievable. And of course, it takes a village, not just the partnership of our husband and our team of our family, but our extended family. My sister-in-law and my two daughters. Everyone gets one seat for the mother, and they gave her 3 seats. So she's the only one who had more people than everyone else because her mother couldn't be there, and her aunt and her 2 sisters came, and it was special for her there. And then, boy, did we make up for it after.
Yeah, but it's clearly like that was right on your mind. So it's like sitting with you.
Yeah.
But you can't be everywhere, can't do everything. And I love that you're talking because I want to get into Aish. Yeah. So take us like now quickly kind of through, because I know we're like an hour in and I want to but we're having so much fun. Okay. So that's why we're like an hour in. We're like, wait, we still haven't gotten past the
So I'll try to quickly accelerate. So basically, HBO was a super duper success. I worked on all of the biggest shows, concerts, and sports matches.
Did you have fun with it?
Documentaries, the best.
Did you feel like, were you still kind of the rich and famous? Like that was your goal still?
It was everything. I was a religious, observant Jewish woman and working at HBO on the hottest shows at the time. And I worked on the Madonna concert and the Janet Jackson concert and the Britney Spears concert. I mean, I'm just saying, like, awesome. it was an entourage and Man to the Married Man and Band of Brothers and every miniseries and boxing matches with Floyd Mayweather. I mean, I was like everything.
Can I ask you before? I know I keep interrupting you. And I know, like, go quick. And then, how was it? Were there difficult situations when you're in like the Hollywood world and you're still trying to be, or you were Shomer Mitzvahs? Like how was that?
They ordered kosher food for me wherever I was.
Yeah.
For Angels in America, when I was flown to England, to London to interview Emma Thompson. So everyone was leaving on Saturday and Shabbos, and I stayed an extra night and left on Sunday. My dress, thank God I dressed modestly but appropriately for the job, and I don't think anyone was made it.
Was it hard for you? Were there any moments where like, wow, like something that you had to give up because it was on Shabbos or anything, or just it all really worked out for you?
I don't recall.
Okay, so then it worked out really well for you.
Life was perfect.
That's amazing.
Yes. But then again, no hubby to show for it.
Yeah.
So I went to every matchmaker. I said it's not just a song and Fiddler on the Roof, but it's like an actually real profession in the Jewish world. So I went to every matchmaker from London to LA, wherever I was. And I dated over 50 guys. I was the one date wonder. And then I went out with my husband. And people were like, the thing that was hard, less from my professional world, I was so embraced. I had a ton of Irish Catholic bosses and executives, and they were just like loved it and were so enamored. I was a very hard worker, and the work spoke for itself. And it was never using Shabbos or a holiday as an excuse.
Right.
By the way, I would work Thursday till 2, 3, or 4 in the morning to get the job done because I knew I had to leave early Friday. Nothing was ever left undone. Everybody wanted me on their team, on their project, on their everything. I won tons of awards for HBO on their behalf as a producer there. I got promotions to senior producer. They offered me executive producer and a 4-day work week once I got married, just so that I would come back after maternity leave. I mean, it was unbelievable. But where I did run into some issues were in the religious world, when people like the matchmakers want to set you up and they ask you, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, I'm a TV producer. And at HBO, I'm not like working at Nickelodeon, like a kids cartoon network. I'm working at a very sort of salacious cable network, which, there's pushing the envelope and then there's like no envelope. You know what I'm saying? Anything goes, like really horrifying. So they were like, okay, they're thinking kindergarten teacher, speech therapist. You want to marry someone that is a rabbi, it looks like a rabbi. Like, what kind of career is this? And by the way, whoever's watching this now, women should know, like, obviously my career, it was definitely not the most kosherest. Is that a word?
Yeah.
But women in these positions as executives for major corporations, we were very few and far between.
Yeah.
It was an anomaly, like
it still is.
But
it's maybe more was then, but it still very much is.
But imagine 20 years ago.
Yes, even more so.
I'm saying like you can remember 20 years ago what it was like.
Yes, there was no one like that. No.
So, but yes, I go out with my husband, and we got engaged after 2 weeks and got married 2 months later. And 6 years later, we had 5 kids. And so I always say Quick and Kosher is not just the name of my first book, but it's a metaphor for my entire life.
Wow.
And that's when I became the bride who knew nothing. And he's like, what's for dinner? I'm like, I don't know, you tell me. And I was on maternity leave from HBO. And I'm just like, I don't want to go back to this. I worked my whole first year pregnant, traveling back and forth. We had moved outside of the city to a nice, beautiful religious community in Far Rockaway. So the commute was like 3 hours door to door on a good day. And I didn't get to see my husband as much as I would have loved in that first year. Thank God we had Shabbos. But once I knew I was having a kid, it's like, I didn't have this kid for someone else to raise it, like this is my dream. So I started writing my cookbook because I learned how to cook on the job. And I wrote the cookbook. I wrote recipes from the bride who knew nothing. Because not only did I know nothing about cooking, but I knew nothing about what it meant to be a wife and a mother and a religious woman. So I wrote my autobiography. This is like before blogging. This is before social media. And I wrote my autobiography like on the pages of the book. I'm like, oh yeah, it needs recipes. All my recipes were fast, simple, quick, and easy. Just a few ingredients because, as I said, I used my oven for storage in Manhattan. And I needed to cook when I got home 2, 3 in the morning for Shabbos for these guests. Wow. My husband cooked with me in the kitchen. He loves the kitchen. He taught me how to cook.
Oh, wow.
And now I love it also when he's like following my recipes and he opens the book and I'm like, and the teacher has become the student. The student has become the teacher, however you want to say it. So, and how did I get to Aish is what you asked.
Yeah.
So suddenly I found myself in a 10 plus year, maybe it was 13 years in the food industry. I don't even like to cook. Okay. I did it out of necessity and I made these fast recipes because I'm working, I hate to use the term, but I just feel like I'm working like a dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have time to potchki in the kitchen and I'm not a natural, intuitive, natural born cook. So and it obviously struck a chord because either women who like to cook or who just didn't have the time or the interest, like sometimes you need fast recipes, even for those that love the kitchen.
So was that what you were doing exclusively, was just around the food, like during that you left Hollywood?
So until I had my third child, while I was working on this book and it was being in a production and photography and until it was published, I still took consulting jobs at HBO. Now, why? First and foremost, because I could take a job that had a clear beginning and end date.
Yeah.
Second of all, I could select if the timing worked for me as well as if the campaign worked for me. So I no longer had to work on certain salacious shows. I could work on a little bit more conservative programming, et cetera. And so it was fantastic. So I continued that until my book came out 18 years ago in November. And like I said, the same day I had my son. And that's when I pivoted full force into the food industry. But it was really like another marketing, branding type of move, less about the food. Like I always say, I could be selling socks, you know, like I was just selling recipes. But I was asked, because I wrote the pages of my life story in my heart and soul, I put it out on the page in the book. So I was asked to tell my story. How I became religious. Now I call the story from HBO to the Holy Land.
Oh, I like it.
I found my way home. I don't even remember what I called it then because I was living in New York. But I told my story. I was asked to come share my journey, my personal journey, and then make a few recipes. So I did that and I went on tour all over the world. And then that was crazy because I'm like, again, how did this happen that I'm away from my family and my
Yeah.
kids. And I told you we had 5 kids in 6 years.
Yeah.
So I'm touring pregnant, and I'm touring postpartum.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm like exhausted. I'm like listening to you. I'm like exhausted.
I'm on TV
Yeah.
all over the world, and doing events. I was like, this is psychotic. This is worse than it was before. This is why I left HBO and now I'm doing this.
Probably people are watching, probably at the time people are watching, they're just like amazed. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how she does everything. But people don't understand. You're looking at people who can do all this, but they don't understand what goes on behind the scenes, how hard it is, how many, sacrifices that you're making. Like, it doesn't look as easy as it appears.
I missed so much family life and so much extended family life, and so many events. Everyone just knows Jamie's not coming. I missed so much sleep. I remember driving back. I had an event in Philadelphia, and I wanted to be home already with my kids. So I'm driving back. I think, I don't know what stage or which kid it was at the time. And it's 2.5, 3 hour drive at 3:00 in the morning. And at one point, the yellow dividing line,
Yeah.
I felt like they were coming up and like into my car. Like they started moving. Like I started seeing
Oh my
things. Like
gosh.
I was getting like hazy. Like I went to check my eyes after because I'm like, they always tell me I have 20/20 vision. Maybe I lost my eyesight with the pregnancy. I don't know. But it was exhaustion.
Yeah.
It was sheer utter exhaustion. Like the lines are dancing on the road in front of me in the dark on a 3-hour straight drive. Like I couldn't stay awake. I couldn't it was so hard emotionally. It was hard spiritually. It was hard.
What was your driver for continuing to do it at that time?
No, so then I was like, because sometimes you do things as women, we push through, and as personalities as ours, we push through until you almost get to the breaking point. And when I got there, that's when I was like, this is crazy. Like I said, I kept thinking like it's a nice kosher career. I'm speaking to Jewish women. I'm talking about what it means to live an observant Jewish lifestyle. I'm telling my story that I hope is inspiring others to either make a change in their life or to love the life that they were born into. I get to do quick and simple recipes, which are making people's lives easier in the kitchen. Like I always say, like between kids' careers and carpools, like who has time for slaving in the kitchen? And slavery is so yesterday. I felt like I was doing something.
So it was purpose-driven.
For my new community that I loved and that felt so in line with my new lifestyle, as opposed to my husband and I got married, we didn't have a TV, and I'm working for HBO. Like this felt like I'm living and breathing and using all of my professional expertise, like to live a life I love and to help others live a life that I love and can endorse.
Yeah.
Not a show that I'm embarrassed to say that I work on.
Yeah.
And so that's what kept me going until it was like, I can't keep doing this anymore.
And it was still a little bit like showman. You were out, you were talking, you was like pulling like what you loved.
In
right.
The street. I'm writing articles that are syndicated
Yeah,
in
so that makes
newspapers
a lot of
all
sense.
over America
Yeah.
and even the UK and Australia, every English
So
language
you were
newspaper.
famous and you loved the famous
So I
part,
got it.
but it got to be in the life that you wanted.
Yes,
That
so
makes a lot of
basically,
sense.
Everything came. This was it.
Yeah, that makes a
But
lot of
forget
sense.
the fact that I don't like to cook.
Yeah.
It's like so annoying that I have to
But that was like the platform. But
Exactly.
ultimately, it was all about being able to tell your
Right,
story.
It was never
yeah.
about the food.
Yeah, that
That's
makes
why
a lot of
it's
sense.
so funny. It's about the moments that happen around the table.
Yeah.
Like what's on
Yeah.
the table, and helping us get to those moments as quick as possible by easy recipes to get them on the table. So that's why. But I woke up one day like I can't anymore.
And then what happened? So like this was it. Like you're like, time. I have to do something different.
Yeah. So then I went to digital media because I'm like, I know traditional media, but this new media came out. I remember someone saying, like, you're traveling everywhere. You can't scale this business by just getting yourself on the road. There's this thing called Facebook. Maybe you should get a Facebook page. I'm like, really? You think so? I don't know. I got someone to run it, and then I moved the whole business to like a digital first business. So it was called Kosher Network International, and it morphed into food and lifestyle. And it was the beginning of the social media boom.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy doing it?
Loved it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Loved it in the beginning because it was just like the work that I knew.
Yeah.
Very curated.
Yeah.
What it's become has been very challenging. And that's what brought me to Aish. So basically, I had a magazine for a few years. I wrote 8 cookbooks in the interim. We were active on 7 social media platforms with over 2 million followers on social, and an email list with over 150,000 people, and a website that had 100,000 people coming per month, and over 10,000 recipes online. And my cooking videos, I got back into TV, but did it through digital media, got over 1 billion views.
Was it fun?
It was awesome, but it was a lot of hard work. I would say it was more work than fun.
Did you have a good team? Like, did you have a lot of people, or was it a lot of work on yourself?
Gam the gam, as we say in Hebrew. Sometimes I had a good team. Sometimes I didn't have such a great team.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was like a 2-woman show, because I'm not going to say I had a partner who's been with me in this business. Shout out to Tamara Genger, you're the best. For 16 plus years we've been together.
Wow.
And so sometimes it was just the 2 of us. Sometimes it was 4 of us. Sometimes we were up to 15 plus people, and plus outside consulting agencies that we use for different things. And now we've pared down to just the 2 of us. It's just the 2 of us again. With AI, we've been able to really.
It's amazing. It's right. That's a whole other conversation.
Totally.
I'm like, oh my gosh,
so
what
we're
I'm
running
doing
like
with
the
AI.
same business on the 2 of us that we once needed so many more people to run. So.
And also that if you were the beginnings of digital marketing and digital platform, like it was all new. Like you were learning everything and figuring it out at the time. And
by the way, it was really easy to grow really quick.
Yeah, at that time. I've heard that. I was actually, because I've now interviewed a couple influencers, and they're like, in the beginning, like you could get a lot more, and now it's hard.
2.1 million followers on one Facebook page, and 225,000, 250,000 on another page.
Yeah,
it's just like, and it happened overnight. Like we didn't even try. Like it was all by mistake. Like to think like, that we knew what we were doing at that stage, it's just so funny. And then then we're Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn and YouTube and, like I'm saying,
so now you think it's hard, like it's changed, like the space has changed.
Oh yeah, for sure. Every time there's a new platform, those early adopters really get in there and do really, really well. But then at the same time, there are all different strategies for how you can continue with engagement, and how sometimes the biggest numbers are not the most important numbers, and they don't like the followers are vanity numbers.
Yeah,
they don't necessarily correlate to both engagement and dollars and cents.
Right.
There's a whole math. I mean, now it's a subject in college. I'm saying, it's a career. It's an industry.
It's something like I wanted to learn, but I kind of like skipped over because I'm in B2B, so that stuff isn't as important. And so really only LinkedIn is really. So I kind of didn't need to learn it, and now the AI is coming. So I'm like, okay, I'm not skipping over that, and I'm like digging in so deep in AI, and I realized like I had to learn everything for myself before I was going to go and really think about how strategically I could do it in my business. So that's like a whole other story. But so how did Aish come into play?
Right. So 1 billion views. I'm just going to say that again, because you would think at that milestone, you're like, that's it. Like I've made it.
Was that in your head? Like I just tell by your personality, you create goals in your head of like what you want to hit.
I want to be able to say, and I'll tell it to everyone, that I have over 1 billion views of my cooking videos.
Yeah.
Still hustling for business development.
Yep.
And again, Facebook was out, now Instagram was in. Instagram was out, now TikTok. It's like you have to build each platform again and again and again, over and over and over. It's like after you built yourself, you had to pay to play.
Yeah.
Like Facebook is no longer showing. On some of my pages, I could get 1 comment sometimes on something we post, because Facebook right now, unless you pay to play, you're really not getting a lot of organic traction unless you're in groups.
It's like you can't control your own destiny at a certain point, right? Like you're so reliant,
exhausting.
right?
It was exhausting.
Yeah.
None of these are owned.
Right.
They're just not owned platforms.
Yeah.
And you work them until
high risk.
Can't work them anymore, but the bottom line is correct.
Yeah.
So, and just exhausted. And it's like, and I really I felt like I had reached a creative ceiling, like more cooking videos, more recipes. And when I'm gonna tell people, okay, 1.5 billion, 2 billion, I don't think anyone's gonna be so much more excited if I get, like, I said 1 billion, great, I could put that on my resume, you know what I'm saying? It's on my LinkedIn profile, great. But now what? And it was COVID, and it was the first time that we said, like you asked me before, what pushed you to make a change?
Yeah.
And it's only when I'm forced into it, when I finally realize that like, I'm gonna pass out, right? Or COVID forced us to I don't think I exhaled for like 18 years.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of kids. We moved countries. A business had grown and shrunk and grown and shrunk. And we had investors come and go. We had massive deals. I lost a massive, massive deal. At that time, it was $1 million deal, signed contract to put out products. Because I felt like, again, like how am I scale? How can I move into a new area that's much more interesting than what I'm doing? I can't just keep doing more cooking videos. So product line. And I had $1 million deal signed, and then that fell through. And I remember because Roth & Co. is my accountant and my business, and I remember meeting with our accountant when I was in Arizona about this deal. I'm remembering it now, but that's before it fell through. You know, we were talking about like what the options will be and how things will move forward, but in the end, it fell through. There were some disappointments, and I just
I know you're saying it so lightly because I'm thinking of moments where like were game changers for me and my, in like my business that were huge deals that fell through. And at the moment, like I remember like I was literally crying. Like I remember like yours like, oh, it just fell through. But I imagine it was not that.
No, I feel like cognizant of time. Like,
no, but like these are the important things. Like you glossed over it because I think people look at successful people and they look at successful businesses and if they've never built one before and they just think, oh, like she's really bright. She's really successful. And like, look, like it just went like that. And no one has a clue that every single business, and I tell this was like three of my kids are now in their own businesses and there's like hard days and difficult things and lost contracts. And I'm like, it's a roller coaster. You are going to have amazing highs. You're going to have big lows. The really great advice I got is don't get too high at the highs, don't get too low at the lows, but it's never a straight line up. And anyone who tells you that, I don't believe them. And there's really hard struggles. Like you got to pick yourself up off the floor so many times. And the people who succeed are the ones who keep picking themselves off the floor and they don't give up. And the ones who don't succeed are the ones who give up. But like you glossed over like a big deal.
Well, I love that you said, because literally I was on the floor.
Yeah.
I was crying on the floor and my husband would come home and he would say, nobody died. You cannot sit on the floor. We're not in mourning. He pulled me off the ledge so many times. I lost my sense of self. I was completely depressed. I was embarrassed to show my face. I was embarrassed to have to face investors. I was sad to have to fire employees who did nothing wrong. And entire departments, like close down a whole office. I've had more failures than I've had successes. And
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And I just want to say one more thing that's really hard is that these businesses, when I'm speaking about my life, are my name. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's very different. I just want to say for any business owner, because people try to tell me all the time, businesses fail, they start, look at this guy, he failed 10 times before he sold Waze out of his garage. I said, but this felt like it failed because it was me. People don't like me enough. Not enough people like me. Not enough people want to buy from me. Not enough people want to invest in me. Even though obviously we know investors are trying to invest in people who are behind the businesses, but the bottom line is this business was me. It was the Jamie Geller brand. That failure and failures were so personal. So personal.
I so appreciate it.
When you succeed, you also feel imposter syndrome. Because even though I've told the story so many times, people forget it. People forget like that I didn't know how to cook, so they expect me to come over and make a gourmet meal. People forget that I've shared this story very publicly about this $1 million deal that fell through and a bunch of other things. I had to close down the magazine. I told you to close down an office. I had to close down whole departments. Like I've said them, but they only see the success. So you feel like people don't see you. Mm-hmm. They don't understand you. And the imposter syndrome is real because if they saw, they would know how much I went through to get here and how it's almost hard to even enjoy the fruits of the labor and the success because of the failures and that you had and the ones will be coming. They will be coming. On the way Absolutely. Here, I lost a big contract. I lost a contract that I had for 8 years on the way here. And at one point I called my husband because he does the pango for me because I always like to pick like you pango. And we had obviously spoken about it before. And then I spoke to my husband first. Then I had the call with him. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And then I called my husband after, and that was that, whatever. And then that was it. I got here. And then I realized that I had to call him to pango. He's like, I'm thinking of you. You're so amazing. He's doing like the pick me up speech. And I was like, oh, yeah.
I got to get to record a podcast soon.
I'm late already. We'll talk about it after,
No, but
I lost the contract on the way here.
Yeah. And so you're looking, and I'm like, I lived this life also. And I know there's a lot of other women who live that life. I'll tell you, and I'm listening to you, and I so appreciate the fact like your name because in my company, I raised over $25 million from investors. Wow. And I know that they invested. Yes, they believed in the company, but they invested in me. Like they told me every day, we invested in you. And I held that as such a huge responsibility. My other companies, I didn't raise any money. It was fine. It was hard. When I had to do it, it was like my own money. But as soon as I took somebody else's money, like I felt a tremendous amount of responsibility. And I built like a company that sells software for Fortune 500 companies. It's a payment company that's a global payment company. It's really hard. It took us 10 years, like grueling years to build it. And so much money and so much time and so much sacrifice. And we finally was like, the investors finally was turning. 2020 was like our year. And we're like, wow, we finally, like we're there, right? We had a term sheet on the table, huge deal on the table that was going to get our investors really like hold their percentage in the company, but also like everyone's gonna. It was like the moment that you wait 10 years of the hardest work to get to, and COVID hits. It was like I let go and I saw a world for the first time that this like business was gonna close, and where I would be, and I was like whatever I'd figure out, and like I was okay with it. Like I accepted it. I was like, okay, so maybe this means now it's time to move to Israel, or now it's time to do something else. And I like just accepted it. And literally I would tell you a week and a half later, like literally my husband got this huge contract that had like, and it was like, wait, like Hashem was just, it was like crazy. I was like, okay, I was like, let go of everything. And then he got this that no one ever saw coming. So here I worked for 10 years. Yes. Like, and then he, like all of a sudden it was out of, like, he got this big contract.
You said that no one ever saw coming.
Never saw it coming.
My favorite quotes is Yeshua Hashem Geharef Ayin. So I hate the translation in English because it's so Christian and biblical sounding to say God's salvation will come in the blink of an eye. But basically, in the blink of an eye, everything can change, and it doesn't need to be a solution that you thunk up or dreamt up yourself.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you just put your burden on God, on his shoulders, and let him figure it out. And I have to say that I'm so happy that you had that common acceptance at that time. I probably just today maybe passed the test after all these years in business, because it was hard for me to let go. I got sick. Like I had these crazy anxiety and panic attacks where I couldn't stop dry heaving. Like, so you know what that is? Like you're not throwing up, but you're retching like from your stomach, and like the whole motion, like your whole body is like convulsing, but nothing is coming out.
Yeah.
And I would just have them, and I'd have them when I would be traveling all over the world, trying to drum up new business, and, you know, and on planes and trains and automobiles. And one time I Ubered, I didn't know that was the beginning of Uber. Like, I didn't know you can't take a 6-hour Uber. I'm in Florida. I did a TV appearance. Like, but imagine me, I'm on TV with the fake lashes and the nice, you know, 8 pounds of makeup, needing to smile while, you know, everything is like falling apart behind the scenes.
Oh.
And then I have a business meeting for, like, you know, business development, like 6 hours away. So I'm like, great, I'll take an Uber. Apparently, I don't know if it's any different now, but apparently they only go past a certain like city limit area. So I had to take one for 2 hours. Then I got dropped off at a Starbucks on the side of the road, and then took another one for the next 2-hour leg, and another one for the next 2-hour leg. And meanwhile, my phone died, and some nice lady recognized me. Can you imagine, in the Starbucks sitting on the side of the road with 2 bags like this, fully made up, like hoping I'm going to get to this business meeting on time. She let me use her phone, and I called the next Uber. And like, I've just been in like these crazy, crazy places. I've been in places where I've raised a few $1 million, and I'm investing all of it in the company. So therefore, my family is eating cereal for dinner. Not even eggs, because they were not even eggs for breakfast, eggs sometimes for dinner, because they were too expensive to have for breakfast. So I said to my husband, cereal twice a day? Like, I'm making food and recipes for a living for people, and I can't even eat and afford that food. So like, eggs was the splurge.
I think
while raising millions of dollars.
I'm telling you, there's so many people listening that if they've gone through it, they can relate to it. But everybody else who looks, and it looks like everything just happens overnight. And so I appreciate that you're willing to share, and I'm sharing because to get to where you are, to do this, is so many failures. In order to be able to be successful, you have to go to bat so many times, and which means that you're going to have to fail multiple times in order to get the successes.
Because it's more failures than success.
It is. So that goes back to courage. It goes back to confidence. It goes back to drive. It goes, so for
having a partner who picks you up also.
Yes.
Like we have
surrounding yourself with people.
I'm saying,
right.
and your partners in business and everything, but like,
you have to have people around you. Yes. Like, you have to have people around you who say, I believe in you. You can do this. Yeah. So and it doesn't matter. It could be business. It could be, but the bottom line, and you're now making this huge impact in the world. If you want to live a big life, if you want to have a big impact, if you want to like go look at those, you know, strengths and toolbox that, you know, God given you, like the, you know, I say the co-host, right? That Hashem gave you inside of you, and use those to better the world. You're going to have to get way outside that comfort zone. You are going to have to wind up, as everyone's hearing from us, on the floor, right? Yes. Losing many, many times to pick yourself back up and rebuild. And that is like the life that's expected of us. Yes. And to do that, as we said, you need really great people around you. You have to have a really strong sense of confidence, to believe in yourself that you could do it even when it falls. And
you have to be able to rebuild that confidence once you know.
Like, and rebuild. Yes. And you have to like get to your Amunah and Bitachon, right? Which is so hard. And
My
even though I know,
started
like,
learning
so hard.
a special book on Emunah and Bitachon during the hard times. And that was something that we took on, learning about like strengthening, because these are muscles too.
Yes.
Your faith and your trust and your belief in God, those muscles need to be exercised and worked as well and developed. So we started reading and learning that like a page a day and turning that and taking on other things as well. I say Parsha Saman every day, and that's a special, some people say it like once a year. I don't even know what day that is because I say it every day. But every day I say special prayer for Parnassa, for livelihood and sustenance. Almost every day. I try to pray every day, but we did a lot of spiritual work during that time as well. But I feel like, I know this show is for women entrepreneurs and leaders and business owners, but I feel like these lessons are for anyone, because you can easily insert life issue here as opposed to business issue. For sure. Here. And there's so many times that we have to just dust ourselves off and continue going. And listen to a Rabbi Schechter on Torah Anytime. I'm a Hasidah. We're Hasidim of his. We love him. And he says, you are exactly where God wants you to be. That's the hardest thing to like internalize and understand, because you feel like this is not supposed to happen. This is not my life. This is not what I planned. This is not the outcome that I tried to will into being with every fiber and ounce of my body. But wherever you are is exactly where God wants you to be. And then how do we continue to dust off and fight another day?
I love it. And I was going to say one more thing, and then I really want to just get to Aish, and then I ask you, I know we've been talking for an hour and a half, and this is so much fun. Like, see, we don't even realize the cameras are around. We're like totally in. I don't know what's in the room, but we're like zoned in on each other here. But what I was going to also say is, I think one of the hardest things for me was that I felt this tremendous, you talked about it with the cereal, like if it was just me alone, and I would be fine. Like, I didn't care, but I felt such a responsibility because it was my family. Totally. And it's like everything was tied to this company at that time. Like, and so
you had leveraged, like,
yes, everything was tied.
Yes,
everything. And so when COVID hit and the, like, there was like, I was like, I don't know if this company is going to survive. I was thinking about how that was affecting my family. And that was the driver. And when everything happened with like investors, it was like to my family. So when that deal came from my husband, it was like, it took the pressure off of me. And because it was like, my family's gonna be okay. And now it was just like, all it was a business. So now it's like, okay, then it just came down to me. And then it felt the pressure of the investors. Like, but then it was, so I ultimately picked myself up off the ground and said, we are rebuilding this thing. But I think that it gave me that little bit of space to do that. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, we're rebuilding. And the most amazing thing wound up happening. I'll just finish the story, because it's like, we talked about how God like controls everything. Ultimately, there was a mix of those investors. Some were great, some were not. Anyone who raises money, it's, you know, I always tell people, do not raise money unless you need it. I ultimately wound up that a friend of mine from YPO that I had met earlier, who was an early angel investor. He's like, you know what? Like, let's buy, the company is, the value went down so much. He's like, let's buy them out. Wow. And like, you're done having investors anyway. Like, it's so hard to run a company when you're an investor. You become the CEO. You're not a founder anymore. It's not your own anymore. And it created the opportunity for him to come in. And the two of us, with the deal that my husband got, we bought out all the investors. And like, I got like my company back to the point now, like, I don't have outside venture capital. And then I had the opportunity now to rebuild. Wow. But it has been hard. Like, you know, it's now 4 years or so, and it's no easy street, and I'm still rebuilding. Yes. But in the end of the day, like it was a gift in the end. Like, at the time,
it always is.
It always is a gift. And I always now remind myself, like,
that it always is.
Right.
It's so hard to feel it in the moment.
Right. You're just like, what was that? But it's soon.
I said, it's a gift. I'm totally good with it. Just hang up for me. We're good. It's going to open up. We want something else very big and important in our life for one of our children. And I said, it's going to be in that merit that this is going to happen, please God. And like, let's take it. I'm ready for this door to close. Yep. And the next one that we've been praying for to open.
So I think if you do this enough, right? If you're in this enough, you like at a certain point, you're just like, and it doesn't take the disappointment away.
It took 20 years, by the way, to even have that conversation now.
Yes.
And it was a big contract. It wasn't a huge contract.
Right. But it's still, and it's still hard. Yeah. It's not like it's like, oh yeah, hush up. Yeah. No, it is hard, and you have to sit in it. Yes. But at least you know logically, and you keep telling yourself that message that this is hard. I'm going to get through it. Like, whatever doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. And I always tell that to my kids also. So, I just like, I thank you for having this conversation, and I really want to go to Aish, but I just like, I hope that people appreciate that the vulnerability that both of you and I have shared, and I hope it gives people strength and courage. And if they're going through something really hard right now, whether they're doing business or you said their personal life, that it's going to be okay. Yeah. They're going to get through it. They're going to, realize why they went through it and hopefully come out even better on the other side.
Amen to that completely. And I'll just add one thing. When I made Aliyah 13 years ago, it was written up in all of the Jewish press, of course, because you could take the girl out of TV, but you can't take the TV out of girl. And I made a documentary series called Joy of Aliyah, a real-time 10-part series about our Aliyah.
Oh, wow.
So you could see it on YouTube if you ever want to look it up. And they said, one of the quotes was, the most famous person to make Aliyah in recent years. And when I was crying and praying to God, I said, you cannot have me fail so publicly. It's not even about me anymore. We said we prayed for our family. We prayed for our investors. And I said, for you, God, how can you have someone who leaves their whole life professionally to become religious and then leaves America to come to Israel? It would be a Chilul Hashem. It would be, what's the translation of Chilul Hashem?
Like a mockery of God, or a bad look of God.
Yeah, I know. I need I know sanctifications of God.
Right.
But I would say it would make you look bad, God.
Yeah.
Someone who has devoted their entire life to you, made the change to become religious, made the change to move to Israel, only to come here and to fail so publicly. For your glory, I want to be successful. If I was called the most famous person to make Aliyah in recent years, and I can't be begging on the sidewalk for food, it's just the crazy thing.
I'm just appreciating the fact that I'm thinking about it. I'm just appreciating the fact that, like you said, your name is on all of this. You could start another business if it wasn't the name, but when it's your name, it's the business is your name, and the pressure you must have.
Yeah, and it failed because if more people liked me, more people bought the stuff that we were trying to sell, then we would be more successful.
So hard. Wow.
Not I hired a spokesperson and then I could hire someone else who wasn't good.
So this is a perfect way for us to go into Aish, which I just want to touch on, that you're doing huge things and you're taking all this experience, everything you've gone through, and now you're bringing it to Aish and this job, and it's not as much about you anymore, and it's about so talk to us a little bit.
Something crazy happened. So first of all, I joined 5 years ago. Also, I told you, the things, the billion views. So now what? Social media had completely just gone crazy, in that it was no longer this wonderful digital platform to curate whatever version of myself that I wanted to put, that I wanted to put out there to share with the world, to make this recipe or buy this product or et cetera. It was literally about showing every part of yourself. What made you relevant and what made you successful was showing yourself in your most vulnerable, authentic times. And I'm putting authentic here because it's all inauthentic, even the tears and the whatever. And to show your family, and to show what you ate, and to show your messy house, and then to show your clean house. And it was too much and too demanding. It's not what I signed up for. It's not like people now who get into this career of being an influencer is an industry now.
Yeah.
People know exactly what they're signing up for. It's if you go to Hollywood and someone's like, too many people are taking pictures of me, I can't get a break from the paparazzi. No, you know exactly. You signed up to be famous.
Yeah.
But this was not what we expected, not the window to my world and to my soul that I had. And every experience suddenly became, this is good for social. I have to experience my whole life now through the phone so that I can post this, because this will be, people will like this and people will engage with it. And my whole business, I had a website with 10,000 recipes. I had a magazine. I had 8 cookbooks, but I had to use social media and use it in all these ways that were uncomfortable for me in order to sell those things or get more traffic, or, I wanted to launch products, to sell more products, to get more sponsors, et cetera, brand partnerships. So I was just I'm done. I can't. I took a breath in COVID, and I said, what could I do with my life right now? And by the way, maybe you could look it up, but I think Forbes did a study that women, more so than any other group or demographic during COVID, had a career shift, because it's the first time that we had a chance to breathe.
Yeah. The expectations, where before that we were expected to be in the office and be everywhere and manage the kids. And it was the first time where everyone was home.
Yeah.
Everyone could have that flexibility of wait, I'm home, I'm here. I don't have to run anywhere. I just get to figure it all out here.
Yeah, there was less demand of you and your time, and less expected. And everything kind of
no travel schedule.
Yeah. So I had felt like I had a really good understanding. Obviously, I know branding. Obviously, I know marketing. Obviously, I know production. Obviously, I know traditional media, and I have a really good understanding of digital media and social media, and how can I use it not to make it about myself. And I was tired of my life, this whole thing being about myself. You saw it almost.
Yeah.
It almost did me in.
Yeah.
You know, like it really, really. It really affected me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be in front of the camera anymore. I didn't want any of this. And so I went to Aish and I met with the CEO, Rabbi Berg, in the middle of COVID, at the beginning of COVID, actually. I think it was May 2020. And I said, look, I don't think Jewish organizations are leveraging digital media and social media in the way that they could be. You're leaving a lot of customers, but consumers on the table. If we are trying to sell Jewish wisdom and Torah, there's a much more scalable, easy way to do it, and we're not using the tools available at our disposal. Also, I have this incredible food empire. Food, I have seen it time and time again, is an entree to Judaism. It's a perfect apolitical, non-threatening way to get people first through the holidays and through the door and then around the table and then to Shabbos, and then we can start educating them. And I just think we should use this experience that I have, plus my food empire, plus, by the way, I dropped the fact that I've always had a dream, like NBC Studios at Rockefeller Plaza.
Yeah.
I said, what about Aish Studios at Western Wall Plaza? That was it. After that, it was one meeting. He's like, what do you want your title to be?
Okay, because if any nonprofit had someone like you walking in the door, I would be like, grab it. I mean, we're trying to hire people for JWE. It's like we're looking for a certain caliber, and it's so hard to get people like that in nonprofit.
Yeah, they were going through.
Good thing he hired you right away. I would have grabbed you also.
Thank you. They were going through a massive restructuring. This Dan Family Aish World Center, this iconic building, One Western Wall Plaza, across from the Kotel, had been shuttered. And all of the branches all over the world had been shuttered. And now I don't know if I could have gotten the same response had life been normal, had COVID not happened, had the world not shut down. It's a big investment and a big cultural and mind shift to change, to think about we are going to do Jewish education online through social media and through micro content.
Yeah.
You always thought you need a captive audience and you need this discovery seminar that I went through a weekend. If not, we'll take a day, maybe we'll take an hour, but this has to happen in person. No change can happen for a person online, but the whole world changed. And so again, he's like, well, yeah, what do you want your title to be? So I'm like, how about Chief Media Marketing Officer? He's like, great. We're done. And that was the first 3 years I spent just building the infrastructure and the entire digital footprint and revamping and redesigning and reintroducing and rebranding Aish as a global entity, as well as Aish.com, as well as our digital footprint in English and Spanish. So we focus both in English and Spanish, and thank God I have a team that speaks fluently. Mine's yo hablo un poquito español, but not more than that. And it was just unbelievable. And before I came to Aish, we had 400,000 social media followers at Aish, and now we have 4 million. We had 2 million video views a year, and then we went to 1 million video views a day, and after October 7th, 2 million video views a day.
That's incredible. Yeah. And so let me ask you, what feels more of a success for you? You're getting to your 1 billion views from your cookbook empire, or getting now in your job Aish to 2 million a day? Both were goals, right?
Remember that I don't like either or questions. So I'm going to say both. And both for different reasons. But I'm immensely proud of what I've been able to build with an unbelievable team at Aish. Unbelievable. I mean, I've never met people. These are not people who come in for a paycheck.
Yeah.
These are
That's the best people.
Mission driven.
Yeah.
And any disagreement is, as we say, l'shem shamayim, it's for God's glory, and just to make sure that more Jews are connected to Jewish wisdom and Torah in this world. And we have a vision and a goal. Aish Vision 2030 was originally a vision that Rabbi Berg, our CEO, had said that he wants 3 million Jews, 20% of the global Jewish population, to be learning Jewish wisdom. Well, now, thank God, with our success, he's basically amended that goal to every single Jew.
Wow.
And we are in a place and a time in history with the technology available to us that should be an attainable goal. And that should be a goal that we set for ourselves and that we believe we can accomplish. It's not crazy. It's not like a, big, hairy out there. What does the BHAG stand for? Big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
It's not a BHAG. It's not a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's like an attainable goal.
It's also the coming of Mashiach, because that's really the big part.
You always have to work that into everything.
But it's all about being able to find ways to be able to share, Judaism around the world is really showing the becoming of Mashiach.
Yeah.
So, well, that's amazing. Jamie, I want to get into my fast 5 questions. I know we've been talking for like an hour and a half, and this has been such a fun interview. I've so enjoyed it. I'm so inspired. I could so relate. I'm so inspired. And I know that like people who are listening are just going to be like, wow, it's so great. Okay. Here's my fast 5 questions. Okay. All right. First of all, I always like to ask, what's your superpower?
Empathy.
Love that. Amazing. All right. What was the best advice that you ever got?
I would say that line that keeps me going, Yeshua Hashem Keharif Ayin, because I've been told that. It's given me a lot of strength, and I've seen it at play like in my life. So that really, in the blink of an eye, anything can change. So you just need to hold on.
Awesome. What type of leader are you?
A loving one, but a tough one too.
The best kind.
I hope everyone agrees with that. They say Jamie doesn't just want to get a job well done. She wants to take over the world. I've been told it's hard to keep up with that, but I try to temper that with a ton of love also, and investment in my team and celebrating them and recognizing them, because I do demand a lot also.
Well, you know what? I think if we don't have leaders like that, then nothing ever gets done.
Yeah.
So not everyone can be like that, but we need some people to be like that. What was the most difficult? Like, we've talked about a lot of difficult moments.
I mean, do we list all that?
Yeah, but like if you look at all of them, what was like the most difficult moment, and what did you like take from it that like really impacted like your career?
The most difficult moment is going through personal challenges while everything is happening on the professional landscape. That includes the highs and the lows. We spoke about all those lows, but nothing is more difficult than the personal challenges and having to dust off and wipe your eyes from the tears and not look like you were just crying, and put on that makeup and sometimes smile on camera to a national audience while you feel that there's some personal things that are in shambles.
I agree with you. It's so hard. And I think that, like we talked a lot about, is that you're not alone when you're doing that. Like, people think that's just them, but because no one wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
But it's not.
But it's
all of
also
us.
not professional. You need to come in always with everything.
Yeah.
As much as I like to be honest, and like in a forum like this, when it's appropriate, I will share everything.
Right.
But I can't come in there.
Of course not.
I have people to motivate that day.
Yes.
We have things we need to accomplish. And by the way, I actually think that has kept me sane. Because if I stayed home and just stayed in bed all day and cried about the situation and didn't want to get out of my pajamas, this has kept me going and have me out of a healthy balance and an outlet. And by the way, no, I don't know. I'm not the best mom. I'm not the worst either, So like, just understanding that, like, and just trying to live.
Well, that maybe takes us to our question is like, what would you tell your younger self?
I would say that choosing your life partner is one of the most important decisions that you can make. And it's a life partner. And that's what will help you get through all of the future challenges and failures and successes. To be there celebrating the successes with your best friend, there's nothing greater than that. And life is life. There are going to be challenges. So to have that amazing partner by your side, just like you need a ride or die. And so that's a very important. Don't take that decision and that, I don't want to say just like a decision because it makes it feel so technical, but know how critical that relationship is going to be to your happiness and success.
And I think especially women that really want to do a lot in the world, like you definitely need that right partner who's going to support you. Final message for our audience today.
I would say, and we touched on this lightly, but I just want to make a bigger point of it, that it's all for the good. It is so hard to see that, but that example that you gave, with your husband at the time and the companies that allowed you to buy back and re-own your company and yourself, I just think everything that happens that seems hard and seems bad is for the good. We won't always get the chance to see that one door close and the next one open. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, but just know that it was there. Maybe it was there for my growth, for my personal development, my spiritual development. Maybe it was there for my mental health to help me understand how to get through something and cope, and that understand that nothing will kill us until, God willing, at 120 at that time. But until then, if we are waking up, it's another day to, attack life. So knowing and believing, I'm saying it to myself. Having lost, as I said, a deal on the way here, it is all for the good.
Amazing. Yeah. Jamie, thanks so much for sitting down with me. I know this is a really long, hopefully our listeners are still with us, but I'm sure they are, because this was an incredible story, completely inspiring. And this is fun. And I feel like, you know what? I made a new friend today.
Totally.
Yeah.
Said we don't have so many. So
yes.
Great. Yeah.
Amazing. This episode was made possible by our friends at Roth & Co. We are grateful for their continued partnership. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that you'll join us for the next one. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch this conversation on YouTube, so be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until we meet again, stay inspired to lead.